5 years from now, that's 2030. So I'm going to ask you a question. That's probably going to bring you up a little bit of anxiety, but will your job still exist in the next 5 years? Not in some doom and gloom, the sky's falling kind of way. I'm not saying that, but as a real practical question, because if you're in any kind of work that requires knowledge and creative work, customer service, analysis, writing, coding, designing, or management, you should be thinking about this. And most people aren't. Today, we're breaking down the research that nearly 8 million people have engaged within the last few months. An AI safety expert sat down and asked a deceptively but simple question: which jobs actually will survive the AI revolution? And the answer: only 5 categories, just 5. Stay with me for a second. This is going to make you rethink everything. If you haven't subscribed, make sure you subscribe to Fearless Conversations. We're on YouTube, Spotify, and Apple. Thank you so much. Let me start by being transparent about where this research is coming from. We're not talking about a random LinkedIn post or some clickbait take. This is analysis from someone who studied AI safety for a living. Okay? His entire career was built on understanding how AI actually works, what its limitations are, and what it means for human society. And here's what's interesting. This isn't pessimistic. It's actually almost optimistic in a strange way. You see, most conversations about AI and jobs go to the freaking extremes. On one end, you've got everything is going to be fine. AI is just a tool crowd. On the other end, you've got the doomers saying mass unemployment is inevitable. But they're actually missing the most important insight about this. The actual insight is this. I'll share it with you. AI won't destroy jobs randomly. It'll destroy jobs systematically. It'll target anything that's routine, repeatable, and rule-based. Anything that can be broken down into steps and executed consistently. That's what AI is really good at. Okay? What AI is bad at is the stuff that's ambiguous, that requires judgment, that involves accountability, that demands genuine creativity, or depends on authentic human presence to, make it work. And here's the thing, almost nobody talks about this. As those routine jobs disappear, the premium on irreplaceable humans, that kind of stuff goes way up. The jobs that survive won't just survive, they'll likely pay better, have more autonomy, and demand deeper skills. You see, the research we're looking at today basically identifies 5 job categories that have one thing in common, ladies and gentlemen. They are anchored in something AI fundamentally cannot do. Now, before we get into those 5 things, what those 5 things are, I want to give you some context to just how significant these analyses have been. We're talking about 8 million views, nearly 200,000 likes and engagements. Those numbers matter. Why? Because it tells us something important. People are hungry for the real answers about what's about to happen to their future. They sense it. They know something's changing. They're not sure what to do about it. And when someone articulates a clear framework for thinking about it, it resonates. So that's what we're doing today. We're taking that framework and actually unpacking it, not just telling you the 5 jobs, but we're going to explain to you why these 5 are resilient. Why does this matter, right? Understanding the why is everything, because then you can figure out whether your specific role has those characteristics or whether you need to develop them. Ladies and gentlemen, let's talk about the first job category out of the 5 that will make it during the AI revolution. Strategic leadership and decision-making is going to be key moving forward. Let's talk about it. The first one is leadership and decision-making roles. This is something that AI cannot do alone. This includes CEOs, C-suite executives, directors, senior strategists, board-level decision-makers, people whose job is fundamentally to decide. So AI won't be able to decide those sorts of things. whether they acquire a new company, do they pivot our entire business model? Do we go public? Do we wind down a division? This is something that is going to involve the human touch. Now, you might be thinking, wait, can't AI help with this? Well, absolutely, with the data aspect. That's not the point. Of course, AI will help with the strategic decisions, but it'll be amazing at processing massive amounts of the market data, identifying trends, running scenarios, modeling outcomes. If we do this, AI systems could potentially process information about 1,000 companies, 1,000 markets, 1,000,000 data points, and say, hey, here are the top 3 strategic moves available to you, ranked by probability and success. But we're going to need a human to implement that, ladies and gentlemen. That's what's valuable. That's the genuinely useful product of AI strategy. But here's the thing. Someone still has to choose. Someone has to make the decision on what AI created. And more importantly, someone still has to be responsible for what happens after they choose what the AI suggests. This is the part AI can't do. AI cannot advise. AI cannot decide. And AI cannot wind down a decision. Think about it practically. Let's say a CEO takes an AI recommendation and they enter into a new market. The market crashes. Thousands of jobs are lost. Investors lose money. What happens? Do you blame the AI? Absolutely not. Well, the CEO would lose their job. Their reputation possibly faces legal consequences. They bear ultimate consequences from those types of mismanagements. Now, what happens to the AI? Nothing. It's a computer. It can't be held accountable or responsible. It doesn't have a reputation to lose. It doesn't face legal liability. It can't even be fired. So the accountability gap is exactly why this role persists. Because in an organization, especially a large one, someone has to be able to answer the questions. Who made this call? And that someone has to be human. That someone has to have skin in the game. That someone has to potentially lose something if something were to go wrong. This is actually fascinating from an economic perspective. We're not in a world where liability is going away. We're in a world where liability is staying, and it creates a structural floor, especially for human roles. It goes deeper than that too. Strategic decisions often involve ethical considerations. Sorry about that. Do we lay off these groups or that group? Do we expand into new markets with questionable labor practices? Do we prioritize profit or sustainability? Do we shift our company's values?